Well, the full House of Representatives set for an unprecedented vote this Thursday on whether to hold Attorney General Eric Holder in contempt of Congress for his refusal to hand over Fast and Furious documents subpoenaed by the Congress of the United States. Joining us now, Wayne LaPierre, the Executive Vice President, Chief Executive Officer of the National Rifle Association. It is great to have you with us, Wayne.
Thanks, Lou.
This is one of the most frustrating and difficult investigations I've ever watched. The idea that the Attorney General has not produced any documents, has not turned over, or apparently the Inspector General has not produced the conclusions of her report, and has, it seems to me, straightforwardly not cooperated with the House Oversight Committee. Your thoughts?
Well, I'm not sure Americans have ever seen anything like this before. I mean, let's look at what happened. This administration gets in there, and immediately the President, the Vice President, the Attorney General, and the Secretary of State start sounding like a barbershop quartet with this 90% of the guns the cartels are getting are coming from the U.S. It was never true. I called the Bush folks right away and said, what'd you see? They said some small-time operators. We never believed the cartels were getting them from the U.S. Russia, China, international black market, defections from the Mexican army, and Central America. And yet what this administration did, the Obama administration, they in effect set up a dealership. They set up a pipeline. Thousands of guns going from the U.S. into the most evil people on the planet. They didn't arrest them. They didn't stop them. They didn't interdict them. They let them cross the border.
Let me interject. Under the auspices and direction of the Department of Justice and Alcohol and Tobacco, Firearms and Explosives Agency, which is part of the Department of Justice.
That's exactly right. And it was going on and going on and going on until Brian Terry was killed. In effect, what they did was facilitate a crime to facilitate their political agenda, to make their sound bites, the 90%, look like they were true. And if I'm not telling the truth, let the Justice Department prove it. They know what happened. They've got the papers, and the reason they won't release them is they don't want the American public to know the truth.
What you're saying is that contemporaneously with the statements that those guns going into Mexico, where 90% of them were originating in the United States, and we can all recall the headlines and the stories and the Justice Department and the meetings, by the way, between Justice Department and Obama administration officials and Mexican authorities. Contemporaneously, you're saying you think Operation Fast and Furious was intended to support that public political initiative?
I absolutely do. I believe it was all about furthering their political agenda. I mean, they let these guns go to the cartels. They, like I said, they didn't arrest, they didn't do anything. Yet when they showed up at crime scenes, suddenly they were out there going, these guns are from the United States. We need more gun control laws in the U.S. And then they probably leaked to papers like the Washington Post stories like this: Mexican drug violence runs rampant, U.S. guns tied to crime south of the border. And they go on to say, no, the Washington Post, front page, no single independent dealer stands out more than Bill Carter in Texas. The truth is the Justice Department ordered Bill Carter to sell all those guns. So they're willing to let his reputation be completely ruined and smeared.
Do you find it interesting that the national liberal media is not analyzing and delving into precisely those contemporaneous events that you have just described here on this broadcast?
Yeah, I mean, so much of the national media ought to just take down their logo and put an Obama bumper sticker on, because they're so tied to re-electing this president. I mean, the Washington Post writes the other day, I mean, they're still writing stories, patting themselves on the back for Watergate, which is a third-rate burglary. I mean, even Bill Clinton was a dalliance with an intern. This is hundreds of people dead, federal agent dead, and the Washington Post writes the other day it was an honest bureaucratic mistake. I mean, there's all kinds of double standards, political dishonesty, duplicity here that make the American public sick of what the political class does.
Wayne LaPierre, the head of the NRA. Good to have you.